Headliner Nation, how we doing out there today, guys? I'm your host, Ryan O'Connell, and today I'll be talking about some of my must-have DFS plays for this divisional matchup. I was lucky enough to take down a first-place prize in a $200 tournament last week. Humble brag. But let's face it, guys, those games last week, they were not interesting to watch. Just good defense, very low scoring, not very exciting, to be honest. But this week we have some high-powered offenses. We have some great matchups. And the first matchup I really want to talk about is the Colts Kansas City game. Now, this is a game that you guys are going to want to stack. It has the highest projected total on the slate. You got Andrew Luck going against Patrick Mahomes and just tons of talent all the way around. So this is the first game I'm going to be looking at. So let's take a look at DraftKings and some of those salary prices to get a better idea of who we want to target and where some potential values at. If we take a look at the slate this week, what is the first thing that stands out to you guys? For me, it's all these price points. I mean, look at this. Todd Gurley, 8,000. Michael Thomas, 7,900. Tyreek Hill, 7,400. Alvin Kamara, 7,300. These guys are entirely way too cheap on DraftKings this week, which just tells me it's going to be a great week for DFS. You're going to get a lot of people involved because they're going to be able to target some of their favorite studs and put them in their lineups, which is going to make the games more exciting. So I expect some heavy action this week. Whether you play on DraftKings or Draft.com, there's going to be some great players to target. Now, if you play on Draft.com, the only thing you got to remember there is that it's a half-point PPR, and you're going to want to target guys that get a lot of goal line work or red zone targets. So that when I talk about these guys, that's going to be the only differentiation. So on Draft.com, if you're new to Draft.com, make sure to use our promo code Headliners. You get a free $3 entry. It's just another way to play. If you can't build the team you want to build on DraftKings, go to Draft.com and you can simply snake draft against other people, or you can actually use a feature called the Dream Team, and you can just put Zeke, Gurley, Michael Thomas, Travis Kelce, your favorite players in a lineup going against the competition. Now, you're going to want to obviously target all these elite players, but you're also going to want to set yourself apart from the rest of the pack. So this week, I'm going to be talking about my must-haves, and like I said, the first game I'm really looking into is this Indianapolis-Kansas City game. Now, if there's any quarterback I want to pay up for, it's probably Andrew Luck or Patrick Mahomes. They're in the highest projected total game on the slate. So what that tells me, they're going to be throwing the ball a ton, and it could be a potential shootout. But instead of locking these guys in, I want to target some of the skill positions in this matchup. Because the one thing that really stood out to me when I first looked at this slate is that the Colts are pretty bad against defending tight ends. Well, Kansas City has one of the most elite tight ends in the game in Travis Kelce. Kansas City is also one of the league's worst in defending tight ends, and the Colts have Eric Ebron, who's been nothing short of just absolutely superb, teamed up with Andrew Luck. So, I mean, I would say 90 to 95% of all my lineup constructions are normally 3 running backs. What that means is I'm going to start 2 running backs here, and in my flex spot, I'm going to put another running back. Running backs get the majority of the carries. It's the safer way to go. They also get a lot of goal line work, which means more touchdowns, more chance for fantasy points. But for this week, it might be one of the few weeks it makes sense to actually do 2 tight ends. If you want, you don't have to go that route. It's just something I've been considering. So, I mean, because if you have to think about it, like, who would you rather have at tight end? Travis Kelce, right? Well, what about Eric Ebron? What if he goes off and has another 3-touchdown game? I don't want to miss out on that, and I think he has that potential. So for the time being, I'm going to lock both these guys in. These are 2 of my must-have players. If you can pick a tight end that you like more than other, obviously Eric Ebron's going to be the chalk, which means a lot of people are going to be on him because it not only gets you exposure to this game, but he's cheaper than Travis Kelce.
So it's going to be a little easier to fit some of these studs in. So another player I like from this game is at the wide receiver position, and that's going to be T.Y. Hilton. Now, I know Tyreek Hill is in an absolute smash spot, but if I'm going to be targeting all these guys like Alvin Kamara, Todd Gurley, I can't pick every single stud. Now, I like Tyreek Hill. I think he has a tougher matchup than T.Y. Hilton, but T.Y. Hilton has the guaranteed volume that I'm looking for from Andrew Luck. He has an easier matchup, tons of volume, and probably just as much upside as Tyreek Hill. Now, don't get me wrong, Tyreek Hill is just an absolute freak. He can take a 5-yard screen pass for 100 yards and score a touchdown basically on any given play because of his speed and agility. But in this game, I think T.Y. Hilton's the guy I want to target. I actually favor the Colts passing attack in this game because the odd makers have this game projected at 57 over-under, and the Chiefs favored by 5.5 points. So from a game script narrative, that's what it's telling me is basically the Colts are going to have to play catch-up, or they're going to be playing from behind the majority of the game. So that tells me Andrew Luck's going to throw it even more than he already does. He has a high up-tempo offense, and yeah, I'm going to have to lock in T.Y. Hilton here. Another guy that I really like Marlon Mack, and I can't decide if I'm going to play him or not. Here's my thought process there. Now, if you think the Colts can get a lead and maintain it, you need to start Marlon Mack. He's going against one of the league's worst rushing defenses, and he's in an absolute smash spot. So if you think they can get a lead and sustain it, start Marlon Mack. But from a game script narrative, it sounds like they're going to be passing a lot, and they have a good pass catching pack in Nyheim Hines. So for me, I think I'm going to have to target Nyheim Hines for two reasons. Number one, if the odds makers are right, and they're pretty good at their job, so I'm going to trust them on this one, that the Colts are going to be playing from behind. That tells me they're going to have to pass more often than run. That means Nyheim Hines should get even more work than he has. Now, he hasn't got the majority of carries, but they've also been leading a lot of their games as of late. Nyheim Hines is also dirt cheap on DraftKings, and it's going to allow you the salary cap to get all these other studs. So he's another guy I'm locking into my lineup currently. Let's go back and take a look. Is there anyone else that we want to lock in? Talked about Tyreek Hill, Andrew Luck, Mahomes. Oh, Damian Williams. Damian Williams is not someone that I'm locking into my lineup yet, but it's definitely someone I'm considering. Damian Williams is in a great spot. The Colts defense have been susceptible to pass-catching backs. Now, what worries me is Spencer Ware's coming back. I only think he'll be limited at best. But if Spencer Ware sits out, Damian Williams is an absolute must-have. Absolute must-have. Just want to make sure you guys heard that, okay? If Spencer Ware is out, Damian Williams is a must-start for me. And we're going to go to the second highest scoring game on the slate, and that's Philly and the Saints. Now, this game has an over-under of 51, and it has the Saints projected to win by 8 points. That tells me the Saints are going to be scoring the majority of these points, and Philly's going to have to play catch-up. So you might want to target the Saints' run game, which I'm considering. Another thing to pay attention in this game is that basically all of the Saints' offensive line is banged up pretty bad. So I'm kind of paying attention to that because I love Alvin Kamara. I love him as a player. I was high on him before preseason, and he's just one of those versatile backs, and his efficiency is just absolutely ridiculous. So he is one of the players that I'm definitely considering, but I'm looking at that offensive line before I commit to him. Now, one of my must-haves, regardless of the situation, is Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is Drew Brees' go-to option, gets tons of red zone looks, and his floor is high and his ceiling's even higher. I almost guarantee that he'll receive at least 10 targets in this game. And he's going against a very weak Eagles secondary, which just got burned by Allen Robinson, and Michael Thomas is obviously a much more talented player than Allen Robinson. Not taking away anything from Allen Robinson and what he did last week, which was phenomenal. Thank you, Allen Robinson. He brought me home that first place prize money, so thank you for that. But Michael Thomas, in a very similar situation, should have put up 30-plus points. So he's someone that I have to lock into my lineups. And on the other side of the ball, that's going to leave my second favorite value guy, Nick Foles. Now, I've heard lots of nicknames, Nick Big Dick Foles, or whatever you want to call him. Frankly, this dude is just an absolute stud. I don't know what his deal is. During the regular season, he looks terrible or on average at best. But when it comes to playoff time and clutch and we got to win this game, Nick Foles out of nowhere is like, okay, I'm going to go win this game for you, coach. I'm going to go ball out of control. I absolutely don't understand it, but I really don't care. I mean, Nick Foles, for a cheap option on DraftKings, he's definitely someone I'm targeting. He's only 5,400, while Mahomes and Andrew Luck are all the way up at 6,200. So this is not only going to save me money to get more studs, but it's going to set me apart from the rest of the pack, because I guarantee you plenty of people will be on Mahomes this week. They're not going to set themselves apart that much, because all Nick Foles has to do is get like 25 points. If he has a 25-point game, I guarantee you with the rest of my lineup, I'm going to outscore anyone who has Patrick Mahomes, just because of that price difference there. He's going to give me 5x, so that means Patrick Mahomes would have to put up 35 points for us to be equal in that, category, and then I have bigger studs down below. So that's just my thought process there. So keep that in mind. Nick Foles is a nice cheap option for you guys. And if I had to choose one Philly wide receiver, I'm going to probably have to go with Golden Tate. He's very cheap, and he's going against Saints secondary. I don't believe he's going to be matched up with Marshawn Lattimore, which is their best cover cornerback. I believe Lattimore is going to shadow or follow Alshon Jeffrey around. So I think that's going to allow Golden Tate to get all those underneath routes and really going to open up some opportunity for him and provide great value for your team. At defense, there's not a lot this week. I mean, you could go basically Chargers or Rams. Like, if you want a quote-unquote elite defense this week, I don't really see many elite defenses. Chargers or the Rams are the best choice for me. And since the Chargers are the cheapest, I'm going to have to go with them. Everyone will be like, but it's Tom Brady at home in the playoffs. Have you seen the Patriots this year? They have not been playing that well. They're not that high-powered offense from years past. Tom Brady is getting much older, and they lost one of their best receiving options in Josh Gordon, because Josh Gordon is, frankly, Josh Gordon and can't stay away from the weed or whatever it was, which is unfortunate because he's a great player. But for this week only, we are paying attention to other things. Oh, do you see what we have here? See, this is what I love. You start plugging in guys you like, and you're building your lineup. You're doing this and that, and then you see your remaining salary, and then you see who's available. Alvin Kamara, 7,300. So, what it comes down to, do I like the Chargers D? Absolutely. Who do I like more, Chargers D or Alvin Kamara? Alvin Mother Kamara, all right? Give me Alvin Kamara all day. So, we're going to plug him in, and yikes. Wow. We're going to go with the Colts D. I think the Colts D is better than the Eagles D. I don't know. I'd rather take the Colts versus Kansas City than Philly versus the Saints because, I mean, wow. Either way, it's not going to be pretty from the defensive side of things, but we have all the studs we want. Now, you could obviously change some things around. I could take Tate out. I could go back up to the Chargers, and we can make this work. So we have a good defense, so we're not just completely hoping on a prayer. I mean, Sammy Watkins, he's not a terrible option. And then you got that Kansas City side all locked up. No, it's not Tyreek Hill, but if Sammy Watkins is healthy, and from what I've read, he is, remain limited at practice Wednesday. Okay, so just something to keep an eye on.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up. I know I didn't go into too much depth about every single game. So if there's a certain player you had questions about or you want me to go more in depth about, please just leave a comment down below in the video. I'll make sure to answer that for you. But this video is about must-have, the players that I really want to target that you should absolutely have in your DFS lineups this week and that are going to help you win those head-to-head, those cash games, and those GPPs this week. I'm hoping that this information was helpful for you guys. Like I said, if you got any questions, leave it down below in the comment section. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm your host, Ryan O'Connell, signing out.